feel old.
Hello and welcome. I guess we'll start with a question for both of you. I mean, you've both quite recently made that transition from very high-performing elite athletes into punditry. I mean, is it something you feel at peace with now, Rio, that, you know, that this is your new life and you kind of, and this is what you do, this is what you are?
Yeah, very much so. I think I've been thinking about it for probably 3 or 4 years, what I was going to do after, and media was definitely a huge part of my thinking. Me and my management team sat down and thought about which areas that I liked. Obviously, football was going to be the bedrock of whatever I'd done. And so by the time I got to the end of my career, I'd done a good few things where I was really ready to go into punditry. Speaking about former teammates, players that I played against, was never really something that was an issue for me, because in a change room I'd never ever I felt very comfortable telling people if I thought you were good, bad, or anything else. Obviously use different words a lot of the time, but it was never a problem for me. So doing it on the TV is something I'd have been doing down the pub with my friends anyway. But to do it on TV on a station like BT, platform like that, is it's been fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Brian, for you, it's been even more recent, and you told me backstage that during the World Cup, it was the first time in 20 years you'd watched a game from the stands, and you didn't quite know what to do with yourself, you know.
Even just reading a ticket, you know, where you're meant to sit, I was like, I don't know how to do this. Can someone please show me how to get to my seat? Hold my hand. Yeah, it's, you know what, I think the further you are removed from it, the more comfortable you get from a pundit point of view. I suppose I started quite young from rugby terms as a 20-year-old, so a lot of my very good friends from rugby have retired before me, albeit I still have some good friends, you know, currently in the game, and I still have to critique them. But I think players never mind being critiqued on their performance. It's when you start looking externally or looking at, you know, character assassination or, you know, extracurricular things that you're having a go at. That's not really any of your business. You're there to analyse how they're getting on a rugby pitch and give your opinion. And it's only one opinion. It's not gospel, but I suppose the further I am removed from it, the easier it is to get to do that.
Because there were points in that World Cup, you were quite hard on them after the Ireland-Italy game in particular. You know, you really didn't hold back, but you were pretty comfortable with that from the get-go.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second.
There were points in the tournament after the Ireland-Italy game in particular where, you know, you had a good go at them. And how much did you think about that beforehand?
I think you just have to be true to yourself, and you can't lie to people that have watched the game the same as you've watched it. You have to be honest, and it's not always going to be a bed of roses is what you're going to say. But you know, when they've gone not as well, you have to be honest about it, as much as you have to laud them when they have played extremely well, and they've done that. You know, since my retirement, they've probably excelled. I'm the guy that's held Ireland back for the last 15 years. So when you know, we're just there to analyse 80 minutes, and like I said, when they do particularly well, you have to, you know, tip your cap, and when they don't do well, you have to say what went wrong and pull it apart and say what they can improve on. And I don't think players ever have an issue with that.
Yeah, sure. I think no, but it has to be black and white. I think if you start creating grey areas and saying maybe, and then people can see through that. The guy at home sees that you're sitting on the fence, and they would look for a reason as to why you're doing that. If I've got to speak about someone I don't get on with, or I've had a problem with in the past, if I sit on the fence or I don't go on that subject, people are going to not take me seriously. They're going to think, well, what's the point of me being on there? And anything I say beyond that, they're going to think, there must be an ulterior motive as to why he's speaking or why he's saying that, or question what I'm saying. So I think, like you say, you have to be black and white, nothing in the middle if you can be.
Yeah. Because increasingly, you know, players, coaches, they do take what you say extremely seriously. And you had the whole, I mean, this season in particular, Jose Mourinho's really kind of vehement outbursts against what Jamie Carragher was saying about him on Sky. I mean, do you ever feel, does it ever worry you about getting into that kind of collision with current coaches or even players?
No, not at all. I think confrontation is a big part of sport. I think, especially in rugby, in football, it's a non-contact sport now, almost. But confrontation is a huge part of that, whether it's on the training pitch, whether it's in the change room, or on the pitch that we see on the TV. And there's an extension of that from a studio to the pitch as well. And if what we say a manager or a player doesn't like, for me personally, I look at it how I played. I was criticised at points in my career for my performance. I was getting too old, his legs have gone, etc. And I used to bank stuff like that and use it as fuel. And the only comeback to that, I used to think, was winning. Success, winning a trophy or winning that following week and proving to someone over a period of time that what you said and ram it down their throat and that is not true. And so when I see people coming out, I find it maybe a little bit petty sometimes, a bit of insecurity maybe. I think winning is the best antidote for anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Brian? That sensation of winning is probably the hardest thing to replicate when you stop playing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like, you know, people say how you find your new career. You know, I'm enjoying the punditry, absolutely, but it's not playing. You know, playing is the ultimate, and I was lucky enough to do it for the large part of my adult life, you know, from 20 to 34. And it's impossible to replicate that. You cannot find that buzz of not even running out in front of 80,000 people or necessarily winning trophies, albeit, you know, that's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
It's that sense of achievement in the dressing room afterwards where you don't really need to say anything, that you know one another have rolled your sleeves up and really dug in, and you're the only one, as much as your family and your supporters and the fans there have a huge appreciation for it, they don't truly know what those 15 or 23 other guys know. So that's a really unique and special feeling that is hard to replicate. I'm not trying to replicate it. And it's funny, in the punditry side of things, I still get a great buzz out of a good production, of knowing that I've added value to a show, or, you know, that people at home will be a little bit the wiser for some of the knowledge that you might have imparted on them. So, you know, they're small little wins that kind of help you make that transition from one career to the next.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about your social media presence. I mean, you're both in the studio for BT this season, and, you know, difficult though it is, you are surrounded by TV professionals, producers, the tech guys, the video guys. You know, you do get a lot of help and support. Whereas Rio, I think I counted up 13 million followers on social media on your 3 platforms today, and but that's pretty much all you, isn't it? Do you find you think carefully about what you put on there? The more often you do it, or
it's a double-edged sword, that one.
I have now. I mean, when I was at United, I was playing football. You're heavily governed, so I paid quite a few fines over the years for some of the stuff that I've said. But because it's impulsive. I'm quite an impulsive person at times, and if someone's said something not even associated with sport or football, and you don't agree with it, and you say something, you can be fined and stuff. So I used to take a few fines here and there. But no, I kind of got onto social media because I just thought that was the best way for me to connect with the fan. There's 80,000 seats at Old Trafford, but there's like over 800 million supporters around the world of Man United, and football even more. And I just thought it was a perfect platform for me then to kind of connect people to that and bring them into to my world. And people expected me to be, oh, I'm traveling to London. Oh, are you flying on your own plane? No, I'm going on a train. Like, oh, you got security? No, I'm actually on my own. But people didn't know that because there's a picture painted by someone in an office who's got no idea of who I am, but their perception of me is what they're trying to give out to everybody. And so I was always frustrated by that. So social media came at a time where I was like, great, this is perfect for me. Because when I was younger, I wanted to know what certain stars were doing, Michael Jackson, from an actor, Will Smith, or whoever, Robert De Niro. What were they doing? That's what I used to always think. And this has been a great platform for me. And then the kids of the future, my children, this will be normal for them.
Sure.
And so I always had that in mind. And so when I finished football, I used it as something where I could build and then take on into the next phase of my life as well, and bring people into that and just to continue on that journey.
Yeah. What about you, Brian? Did you feel the same? I mean, you probably used it a bit less during your playing days than Rio might have, but more so now?
I was late-ish to it. I suppose I realised that there's, you know, I suppose I agree with what Rio says, from being able to interact and give more of yourself and to give people a real sense as to what you are, because as part of a team, you sometimes have to adhere to the team way, and you mightn't always be able to speak your mind or show the individual in you. So I think, you know, the likes of social media, Twitter, and I'm not on Facebook, but Twitters and Instagrams give people a little bit more of a sense as to what sort of person you really are. I've obviously never needed a security guard in my life, so I've never had that question posed to me. But it is the small things where people think one thing and you have an opportunity and a platform to be able to show them differently. And even from the point of view when people talk about trolls on Twitter and people having that vehicle, they've always existed. People have always existed, but social media has offered them the opportunity to get into it. And you have to accept that as part of it. Sometimes you engage and other times you don't. As part of a team, often teams I was involved in, there was 24 hours, pre and post game where it was blackout, so you wouldn't react to tweet being sent after a game. So I don't have that anymore, and sometimes I interact with people just to.
I've noticed you're not afraid to give a little back where necessary.
Because
he can back it up though. That's why.
But listen, do you know what? I don't mind provided people aren't nasty or people aren't rude. If people challenge something you say or something one of your beliefs, I'm okay with that, and I'll interact with it. We'll agree to disagree at times, a lot of the time. But it's part and parcel of that connectivity between professional sports people and supporters and fans.
I think as well what's great about it is as well as working with BT on the different various platforms that they have and social media, is the generation that we're in and that are coming up underneath us, they want fast, quick, informative content. And that's what social media is able to us to do, the Instagrams, the YouTube, etc. Being able to give people exactly what they want outside of not only just the games, the 90 minutes that we play in football or in rugby, the 80 minutes, it's beyond that. It's beyond them white lines. It's in the households, in the training grounds, on your journeys around the world. Bringing people into that world, fast, quick and informative content is a huge part of it, which is good, which is what the area that I like.
Do you have rules of engagement?
Don't drink. When you've got your phone in your hand, do not drink and go on social media, because that's when a lot of people get in trouble. So I've been there before, yeah.
Ever slipped up in that regard, Brian?
Ever what?
Have you ever slipped up in that regard?
Of course. You've said things and you've woken up the next day and you've deleted them in hopes that no one's favoured it or retweeted them. Of course you have. But exactly. So I've been hacked. I was hacked at 4:30 in the morning. But I'm the only one that has my details. So the book does stop with me. No one tweets on behalf of me. So I want it to be real and want every word to sound as though it's something that I'm potentially capable of saying, albeit you do make mistakes.
Indeed. And what about? You both had kind of fantastically high-profile careers and still do, and you get a lot of commercial opportunities coming your way. You're involved both with a fair amount of brands. And occasionally you do a bit of that in social, but I'm sure you can't do too much either. You don't want to really put your followers off, do you?
No, I think you've got to keep it as natural as possible. I think a lot of fans and a lot of people on social media follow certain people because they like them and they're interested in what they do. And when you see it, a Twitter handle or Instagram page being really commercialized, I think that's a turn-off for a lot of people. And I think you can tell a lot by celebrities and sportsmen when it's genuinely them. I know people who've got millions of followers, and I know for a fact they are not tweeting certain situations, and I know it's not their type of language, the way they speak is far too intellectual for many of them. But it's
do name names.
I can't name names, but that's the grey area that we can go into, not the black and white. But I think, as I said, I understood from an early stage that it can be a business as well, and understanding the commercial opportunities that do come off of that is a huge part of it. And I've retired now, and I know that if a commercial company want me on board, or they want player A over there, they're going to look at your social media following and the attraction. That's going to attract a commercial company, and I understood that quite early. And at the beginning, people saying, "Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it?" One, to bring people in and to show them what we do and bring them on a journey. And two, you can almost become a media company at the end of it if you get enough following. So I understood that quite early.
Good. You're both now well established in broadcasting careers, and that if you keep on being good at it, can be a very long career. Brian, do you see yourself sticking in this direction, or will there be just that urge at some point to go back, take charge of a team, do some coaching?
For the time being, I was talking to Rio beforehand, the coaching side of things doesn't really interest me at the moment because I wanted my weekends back. I don't do a huge amount of stuff. I just do Champions Cup with BT, which is only 9 weekends a year. And obviously with a couple of other brands and some other interests, I have a heavy involvement in an Ultimate Rugby app that is kind of the day-to-day stuff. So being able to get involved in that side of things is kind of a real interest and very different to what I've done in the past. So for the time being, I don't think that coaching is really on my radar, but I like doing them. I still do a little bit of one-on-one stuff with guys, trying if they come and ask some ask and are interested in listening to what I have to say, or pull apart their game a little bit. I'm only too happy to help. But just from a team point of view, I wanted a clean break away from it, and working on the Champions Cup allows me to be able to still have a huge interest in the game and impart the little bit of knowledge that I hope I still have.
What about you, Rio? Do you look at Ryan Giggs and ever wish you could swap places?
Not at the moment, no.
Sorry, the cruel question.
No, I don't. We were talking before. I miss the banter in the change rooms. I miss the going in every day and just having a laugh amongst a group of friends, really, and that feeling of winning, the relief of winning, the satisfaction of winning. The training and the hard graft, not so much. But it's so many hours, as Brian said before. It's a different lifestyle completely. Being a coach or a manager, the hours you've got to give is totally different to a player. As a player, you wake up in the morning, get to training at 9 o'clock, you leave by 1:30, 2 o'clock, and you disconnect until the next morning. As a manager or a coach, that connection is forever. It just goes around 24 hours. You eat, sleep, and drink, thinking about coaching sessions, training sessions, diet, injuries, squads, format. It just goes on. And at the moment, once I retired, I didn't want to be straight into that. I needed a break and to kind of assess things in my life as to where I wanted to go, what areas I liked. I loved the punditry side of it, and you can learn a lot doing the punditry that will put you in good stead for when you actually do decide to go into management if you want to. And I'm doing my badges. I don't know if you have to do badges for rugby?
You do and you don't. It kind of depends.
It's the grey area again.
Grey, you wouldn't like it.
No. So I'm doing my badges and stuff. So if the right opportunity came along, then I'm sure I would look at it quite seriously.
Brian, what have you found the most challenging thing has been about TV?
I think initially you become a different person when you see the 3, 2, 1 and you're live. You still sometimes if you had a heart rate monitor on, you'd know it was jumping out of your chest because it's something that's alien to you. The second season of doing it, hopefully I'll be a lot more comfortable. A bit more experience, of an understanding of what your voice is, particularly from a co-commentary point of view, understanding when you come in, and again, not just being noise but adding value to it. I think everything that I'm involved in, I feel as though I've added value from a rugby playing point of view, so in all the new things I'm involved in, I want to make sure I continue adding value. So that's something that I kind of earmark in anything that I do look to become involved with.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, Rio Ferdinand and Brian O'Driscoll.
Thank you.